so-called Apocrypha of the New Testament. The Gnostic Gospels do not belong to the books of the Bible, and most of them were written in the 2nd century or later, so they are much younger than the canonical texts of the New Testament. The latest canonical text, the Revelation, saw the light about in 9680. The Revelation of John ended the chain of divine revelation. Its message was for that time, and will be until the final moment of mankind's earthly history. So, no new revelation was needed anymore, because the revelation concerning the whole historical era of mankind was already given. And before that, everything that is essential was already said and brought up. The Apocrypha of the New Testament was born much later than the Revelation of John. Also, this tells us that the new revelation was from a man, and did not have the divine authority, since the Revelation of John was the end of God, biblical revelation history. The Apocrypha of the New Testament share one feature: they show the influence of Gnosticism. The features characteristic of the Gnostic texts are also the following. Gnosticism placed itself in a higher position than Christianity, and Gnosticism did not believe that Jesus was God. The foregoing features prove themselves that teaching of the Bible cannot be proven with the Gnostic Apocrypha, because Gnosticism placed itself higher than Christianity, and they believed that Jesus is ordinary man. That made them people who did not want to have biblical faith, but rather they wanted to prove it wrong, elevating their own faith. Thus the Gnostic texts can no way be considered the original texts of Christianity, or works belonging to Christianity, because the Gnostics regarded Christianity as their enemy, and they believed that Gnostics' faith is the right kind of faith. In reality, the Gnostics were in the same boat of deception and the church institution. They had different kind of teachings, but the inspiration for the teachings came from the same source, the headquarters of darkness. The early church did not consider the Gospels of Philip and Mary Magdalene biblical, because they were not canonical. The Gospel of Mary saw the light in the 3rd century, and a slightly modified version of it appeared in the 5th century, in which position of woman as a disciple was slightly changed. And in addition to that, the Gospel of Mary belongs to Gnostic Egyptian Christianity, thus lacking the authority of the Bible. The Gospel of Mary was also born more than 100 years after the last biblical text was born. The Gospel of Mary belongs to the Apocrypha. It lacks the biblical authority, so its message is to be discarded, and it has nothing to do with the truth. The birth of the Gospel of Philip is dated in 180, between 250 AD at the earliest, so it too was born much later than the biblical texts. There were different views prevailing in Gnosticism. Some Gnostics taught that divinity is accomplished uniting man and woman. This idea also led some Gnostics to pursue divinity through sexual intercourse between a man and woman. But there were also Gnostics who abstained for sexual relationships. When we are aware of the fact that the Gnostics considered the Christians their enemies, and that they considered themselves better than the Christians, and they wanted to show, in every way, that Christianity was wrong, we understand why so-called Gnostic Gospels were born, which aim to defame and distort the real gospel. The Gnostics went so far in this that they wrote the new Gospels by distorting the real ones. They pictured Jesus as ordinary man, who was united with divinity through Mary Magdalene. The Gnostic claim that Mary Magdalene was Jesus' wife, suited the Gnostics, because that way they tried to claim that their own doctrine was true, and their thoughts were supported. The idea of Jesus being married is the Gnostic gospel. In the same way that another group, the abstained group, got more grist to their mill, claiming through the new Gospels that Jesus was leading sinful and immoral sex life. This way both groups used the new Gospels as their spokesman for attacking the Christians and the message of the Bible. That was clever plot to defame others, but fortunately we know that the source of inspiration for these Gnostic texts has been made in the headquarters of darkness, and the Bible has the truth about these things. The Bible does not tell us that Jesus was married, and he really was not married, because he was not born to this world to get married, but to die as the sin offering for the sin of the world.